Do you wish to make Microsoft Flight Simulator more realistic or even just as enjoyable as possible? Ever been annoyed with the base photogrammetry in the sim with certain bridges or canals clipping into each other? Or maybe you're looking for significantly better cockpit textures for some of the base aircraft in the sim. Either way, this part 2 of our curated list of 5 realism-enhancing add-ons will be sure to get you as close to that goal as possible. Now before delving in, if you like what you see, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more. We've also just hit 1,000 members on our Discord server, so do join us there for free for some amazing flight sim discussions, and also follow our Instagram for some beautiful flight simulation images. That all being said, ladies and gentlemen, a super quick note from our sponsor before jumping into the meat of things. Now, long-term viewers of the channel might know that I'm not much of a bush pilot or GA aircraft flyer. I love flying large airliners, which usually involves long periods of time where I put the plane on cruise and just kind of sit there. So instead of rotting in front of my monitor for hours on end, I prefer to go out and do things, whether it may be a run, doing my laundry, enjoying a meal outside, but there's always that lingering feeling about how my flight is doing, whether it's all peaceful or if I'm in an uncontrolled nosedive about to kill all of my passengers. Well, with today's sponsor, Asun Remote, you don't have to worry anymore. Asun is a free-to-download application software from macOS, Windows, and Android that allows you to remotely control your PC using your phone. As can be seen here, I can monitor my flight, control the cameras, and even move things around as needed without having to be anywhere near my monitor. The app does allow keyboard customization as well as mouse support, and can also support games up to 144 FPS. So log on to the link in the description section of the video to see all of their expanded payment plans, including a pluggable device that can wake up your PC remotely. Once again, that's Asun Remote, and you can find out more by clicking on the link in the description section of the video. So let's start things off then by beautifying the 2 default aircraft within the sim with some awesome freeware and payware cockpit texture mods. As I said in the sponsored segment, I pretty much fly IFR only, so having good cockpit textures is as important, if not more, than what I'm looking at outside. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Polystorm 3D's 4K 787 textures for the premium deluxe version of the 787 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. After the latest refinements and improvements to the base 787 and 747 within Microsoft Flight Simulator, they finally fly pretty decently, so why not inject some life into these aircraft by improving their cockpit textures as well. As seen in the background, all 787 textures courtesy of this pack have been painstakingly reimagined at 4K resolution, meticulously handcrafted to capture the essence of a real 787 cockpit. The team behind the add-on has gotten physical access and measurements for the 787 cockpit and provided us with realistic colors, scruffs and scratches, as well as different decals and so on to make the entire 787 experience more natural and organic. Additionally, the texture set also addresses some of the default cockpit's issues, let's say, including ambient occlusion inconsistencies, realistic panel labels, fonts, and more. And of course, for those wondering, it works perfectly with all versions of the 787 now available on PC, including the latest Horizon Simulations 787-9, as well as the Kuro 787-8. So for the purchase price of around about $12.30, you can beautify all 3 of those birds with one stone. There's also no loss on your frames per second if you guys are wondering, and the process of installing and uninstalling the add-on is also very simple, so no hassles if it doesn't work out for you, though I imagine you'll be very happy with it to want to do that in the first place. In the same vein then, what do we have for the default 747 then, which, as I mentioned before, also received significant improvements from the working title team in recent Microsoft Flight Simulator updates? Well, enter Rudder Studios, a development team headed by the same person who created the jaw-dropping textures for the fly-by-wire A380 currently in development for the sim. Despite being their first add-on for flight sim, MRR have painstakingly replicated every button, switch, and instrument on the 747 with precision, making the virtual cockpits mirror the real-world counterparts. It's this attention to detail that ensures that pilots feel fully immersed, enhancing their their flight simulation adventures. Since Mike, the person heading MRR, is a real 747 pilot, they've used a real camera, specifically the high-resolution Nikon Z7 II, to obtain reference photos in the highest quality possible and then attempted to inject them right into the simulator. Just like the 787, it changes all the cockpit textures, providing more scruffs and scratches, broken buttons, and so on. Now, there's a big disclaimer here. MRR can only do so much. Microsoft Flight Simulator itself has some inherent limitations that they just can't fix, such as repeating textures or improper cockpit dimensions from the get-go. That has to be fixed from Asobo's end before texture artists can bring better variety into our cockpits. It's also worth mentioning that several people in the community do sometimes think that this texture pack is a little too dirty, especially for a 747-8, which is new in the 747 lineup. So I'd highly recommend you check out these two videos on screen that I made to see what I'm talking about and make your purchase decision accordingly. Either way, I personally love the textures, as the vanilla ones from Asobo don't do it for me, and since Mike and his team have promised consistent free updates in the future, I don't mind investing the $15 to help get a new passionate team off the ground. Finally, as promised, there's also a freeware cockpit texture pack for the 747 on FlightSim.2 that I'll leave in the description section of the video. It's been done relatively well, and the overall colors, hues, and the saturation of the cockpit has been redone to replicate the real 747. But then at the same time, it's not as comprehensive as the payware packs mentioned here. 100% worth giving them a go nevertheless though, so do make sure you do that and let me know what you think of the freeware pack down in the comment section below. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about beautifying the ground we fly over in our virtual skies. If you folks are familiar with it, a team called Project Coastline developed and released an add-on called Italian Coastlines Microsoft Flight Simulator last year, which, as the name suggests, covers several regions, points of interest, and VFR guidelines along the coast and certain inland regions of Italy to completely transform them and beautify them for VFR flying purposes. Well, the same developer has now done something far beyond Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Enhanced Photogrammetry, an add-on available on both PC and Xbox and available through the InSim marketplace as of yesterday. The add-on seeks to significantly improve the photogrammetry around all cities, towns, and areas Asobo has brought to life already with their world updates and city updates over the years. The primary mission was to uncover anything left underwater in all of these areas, revealing the hidden beauty that lies beneath the surface. Now, what do I mean by that specifically? Well, say goodbye to submerged bridges, marinas, and beaches. All structures and objects along the water's edge have been meticulously exposed, and in my personal experience, they're especially enjoyable to see when flying close to the ground at major cities. There's also no more ships and docks appearing underwater. The add-on ensures that you can see them clearly, making your flights and explorations in the sim way more realistic. Another massive pet peeve of mine has been the excessive vegetation that used to obscure the appearance of various bridges, ships, and other assets in the sim, which have also now been improved by this add-on. Now, make no mistake, it's not all perfect. Certain private piers are impossible to tackle, and Italy has purposefully not been included in this pack due to the Italian coastline add-on I previously mentioned already existing for the sim. The developer has promised, though, that for the $14 price tag, they're promising to also enhance all future photogrammetry cities and areas included in future world and city updates, so maybe something for you guys to try out. And getting back to our default aircraft and ways to further enhance them, the third add-on on our list is the set of visual effect packs from South Oak Co. From the developers who brought us Auroras, or the Northern and Southern Lights for the sim, comes a developer who brings us realistic aerodynamic wing and engine effects for the default IFR aircraft in the simulator. Specifically, the pack adds a plethora of effects such as engine intake vortices, St. Elmo's fire, wing condensation, flap trailing vortices, smoke for overheated brakes, and much more. Once again, the full list of everything included in this add-on is in the description section of the video for you guys to check out, but ever since the add-on was released for the 747 and the A320 recently, I've been using it for all of my flights, and it just makes the entire experiencing of watching the passenger POVs in these aircraft just that much more enjoyable. Best of all, these effects change dynamically throughout your flight and don't need to be triggered manually or anything. For example, the amount of precipitation in the sky or the variations in humidity during your landing will determine the amount or extent of wing condensation you might see. The outside air temperature might determine how much smoke you might see emanating from your APU, and the amount of wetness on the runway might determine how much stuff you see getting blown backwards. So it's definitely very fun depending on what you prioritize in the sim environment. Each pack costs around $8.50, but I do have to give a special mention here to Parallel 42, who are developing a realistic effect pack just like this, but one that is compatible for every aircraft in the sim instead of a pack for each aircraft separately. Now, we still don't know when this add-on will be coming out, so I guess all of this just depends on how frequently you fly some of these aircraft, whether you really value these effects for the visual treat they offer or not, but personally, I can definitely vouch for them being pretty awesome and something that should be included in the sim by default, in my opinion. Just like visuals though, sounds are just as, if not more important in a simulator environment, especially considering most of the feel you get in a real aircraft needs to be substituted by the presence of sound. As such, for all of you IFR flyers out there who don't use FT Sim's sound packs, boy are you folks missing out. This team has now been around for quite some time, creating realistic sound-based add-ons for X-Plane, P3D, and now Microsoft Flight Simulator as well. The team goes and records realistic sounds within each aircraft, including engine sounds, hydraulics, air conditioning, flap and gear sounds, cockpit switches, and more, to provide an authentic feel and experience when you fly these aircraft. As can be seen from this list, as well as through the link in the description section of the video, there are several sound packs available, often for different engine types as well. For example, there are different sound packs for the General Electric engines than the Rolls-Royce engines for the 787. The best part is that these sound packs are not all locked behind separate paywalls. You simply need to subscribe to FT Sim's Patreon by donating to them, then download your mods, and you can even unsubscribe for them and keep your mods, meaning you don't have to keep paying them each month after downloading what you really want. In my opinion, for a bit of added immersion and realism, I strongly think FT Sim's sound packs are well worth it to help elevate your flight simulation experience. And finally then, ladies and gentlemen, the fifth add-on on our list today isn't necessarily an add-on, but more of a utility for Microsoft Flight Simulator that makes your entire flight experience more realistic by providing you with learning aids, charts, and aerodrome information to help complete your flights as effectively as possible. I am, of course, talking about Navigraph, ladies and gentlemen. For me personally, a Navigraph subscription is the earliest and most potent flight simulation investment I've made, since it gives me more accurate aerodrome, SID and STAR, approach, and departure charts for every single point around the globe, with constantly improving features via free updates as well. Not only this, but it also provides me with the latest AIRAC data as and when it's released. For those of you that might not know, AIRAC stands for Aeronautical Information Regulation and Control, and represents the set of updated waypoints, airways, and other standard operating procedures in various airspaces that get updated once every month. Having the most current AIRAC cycles not only help you practice procedures with the most amount of realism, but also help you stay current and in sync with ATC when you're flying on, say, VATSIM, where air traffic controllers would expect you to have the latest AIRAC cycles to help give you different vectors and routing clearances. Now, though Microsoft Flight Simulator already updates your AIRAC cycles, you definitely don't get updated charts, and the standard across most other simulators out there, including P3D and X-Plane, is usually Navigraph. And on top of all of these quote-unquote basic features, Navigraph has amazing in-sim panel support as well, allowing you to access your charts from within the sim, and have also recently acquired SimBrief, the free flight planning tool that allows you to generate operational flight plans. So now you can plan a flight using SimBrief and automatically load all the relevant charts you need to go from A to B as seamlessly as possible. You can find all of the information regarding their AIRAC as well as full chart subscriptions in the description section of the video, and I honestly cannot wait for Navigraph to keep getting better over the years. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the conclusion of our video today, covering 5 more realism-enhancing add-ons for Microsoft Flight Simulator. As mentioned before, this list is in no way exhaustive, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section below what add-ons you use that I can include in a future part 3 in this series. With that said, stay tuned to our channel for more exciting insights into the ever-evolving flight simulation landscape. If you found this informative, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more aviation and flight simulation content. Until next time guys, thanks for watching and thanks for flying by.